Good evening. My name's Bill McGrath. I live in 7 Chestnut. I've been the chairman of the Capital Programs Committee for a year and served on it for about 10 years. Previous to that, I was on the Finance Committee for 9 years. I'm going to present Articles 15 and 16 this evening. They're significant, large. I hope you'll be entertained a little bit. I hope you'll ask a lot of questions, and I hope you'll pay attention. The two articles are, Article 15 is the Town Hall project, and Article 16 is the fire station. You can see, don't go that fast. You can see the dollar amounts are pretty significant. I'm going to answer a lot of questions about them. But before I do, I want you to know we've got a website that's up and running and is interactive that can tell you everything you need to know about the town hall and about the fire station and why we need to do these projects. Okay? In November last year at the Oak Bluff School, which is a much easier place to speak from, I talked about, and we raised together $526,000 to proceed to the next step, which we've now completed. That $526,000, part for town hall, part for the fire station, was to give the building committees the ability to go forward and hire a design team and an owner's project manager, which we've done. Both are here tonight, if you'll stand up. They don't vote here, but I have to tell you, they work very hard here. The building committee and the project team that just stood up have worked diligently for a couple of years now, and most recently since January, to put together plans, look at all the alternatives, and come up with solid, nearly ready to build projects. All are posted on the website. All are discussed. The website is even interactive, which I know for some of you that may not mean much, but for me it means a lot. What interactive means is that you can ask a question after you've looked at the website, and it'll be answered. It will be addressed. And so when you stand later in the meeting and ask some questions, I'm not going to answer questions that are answered on the website, because as far as I'm concerned, that's public information. We talked about them in November when I asked you for money and you granted it. What those questions most particularly have to do with is the need to replace those buildings. So I'm going to start tonight from the position that we need to replace the buildings, and I'm going to answer several questions about how we're going to do that. This is a sketch that you've seen out in front. It's a proposed town hall. The reason the green is in the name is going to become obvious later. This is the view looking at it from the Oak Bluffs Library, the back door of the library. Next. For the town hall, we looked at lots of different factors. The reason we're going to build new versus renovate is the expense of replacing the foundation, which needs to be replaced. Under the old building would require the same amount of movement of people out of town hall to temporary quarters, and it would add significant dollar cost to the renovated version of the building. The newer building turns out to be less expensive. Location. We've decided after lots of meetings and looking at alternatives to take the old building down and replace it in site with the new building. We looked at other sites. We looked at the site on the opposite side of the infamous old school, Parish Center, which we talked about in November. The building's not coming back, guys. It's never coming back. But we do own property on the far side of it. And so we examined whether we could put the new town hall there. In other words, leave the old town hall operating, build a new one in a different location, and then populate it when it was done. Turns out that there's a leaching field on that far side of the Paris Center, and there's an easement which would make much more complicated our using that property and much more expensive. In addition, it turns out that we need to have the same building, we need to build an additional floor because we wouldn't be, as we now have in Town Hall, building into the surrounding ground. We can use the bottom floor more effectively. There we'd be building essentially 3 floors up to get the same space. Drainage, sewering, all the other systems that go into building a town hall are available at the present site. They'd all be new if we had to build at another site. So the present site, where the present town hall is the location of choice. We looked at temporary facilities. As part of the project cost, temporary facilities will be put together on the far side of the Parish Center. There'll be, I'm told, I haven't seen them, there'll be trailers that have a wall missing or 2 walls missing, so when they're put together, there'll be a town hall that you can walk through. And when money's approved and goes out to bid and we decide to go forward with the project, there'll be a town hall temporary in place on that location while all the construction and new building are put together. This is the fire station, the proposed. This sketches of it outside in the vestibule. This is the view from County Ave. The administrative end is abuts Wing Road, so you get a perspective on it. This has drive-through spaces, has all the facilities and all the necessary space for all the equipment that we have. Next slide. Again, we looked at alternatives. We looked at different locations. We looked at splitting up EMS and fire. We looked at adding police to it. The way the building is going to be oriented is it's on the same site that we have now, but the building will be rotated about 90 degrees, and the administrative wing will be built on the end of it towards Wing Road. We will accommodate both fire and EMS, as is there now. In addition, a benefit is in the final building, we'll have an emergency management space so that for the likely emergencies that happen on this island, we'll have a centrally located space that's secure. It's got all the communications that are necessary to manage the situation from there. We looked at moving the museum, and in fact, we do need to move it from one side of the present site to the other side of the building. And we're looking at temporary facilities. We're going to build a barn up at the landfill highway department. And in fact, tonight I heard that if both projects go forward, we'll be using some of the old building from Town Hall to build some of the barn for storing the fire engines and ambulances. Here are the questions that I'm going to talk about and try to answer tonight. How can we possibly afford this? And after listening to Article 1, I hope you'll pay attention. What's the impact on my taxes? What are the impacts of delay? What's the next decision? Everybody ready? God, I hope I can answer these questions. Let's try it. Excellent. Here's the colors that I was talking about. Red is the fire station, green is the town hall, and blue is the existing debt service. Existing debt service, that's what we already owe, we're already paying on. And you'll see both in the graph that's going to follow in this table that it's decreasing. And in fact, it decreases quite quickly as we pay off previous buildings, for example, the school, and other debts that we've had. And there's lots of other debts that we've had. In 2013, which was when we started planning for this, that was the target year. And so all the projections that were made at that point had to do with that $3,179,000 figure. Well, it's gone down, what, 400,000 since then for 2015? So it's going down pretty quickly. What we'd like to do in the capital program is to use that decreasing debt service to take care of the town's infrastructure needs, whether it's new buildings, whether it's fixing up parks, whether it's replacing seawalls, and we have lots of needs. As you walk around town, I'm sure you see some of them. With Article 15 and Article 16, the numbers are put in starting in 2016 by using a bond, help me out, Bob, what's the name? Bond anticipation note. And what the bond anticipation note allows the town to do is to borrow the money now and to delay payment of the principal and the interest for a couple of years. And what that particularly allows us to do, in this particular case, allows us to do 2 buildings with 2 bonds for lots of money, but we've delayed, as you can see, until 2019, the repayment of the bond principal for the town hall, which allows us to time the total planned debt service, or how much money comes out of your taxes. Does that make sense? Here's another picture of it. Again, the colors. The blue on the left, that's the existing debt. And you can see it goes down pretty quickly. The red is the fire station. The green is the town hall. And back when we started this, all the way to the left, that was 2013. And that nearly $3.2 million, that was the target that we were shooting for to introduce this debt and to keep it relatively level. You can see there's a couple of years, 3 in fact, where we're going to be above that level. And I'll show you the difference in your taxes just for long-term capital debt that you've been paying and how that will affect your taxes. The purple, way out in 2022, That's when we introduce changes for wastewater and for other needs. It doesn't mean we need to start or wait until 2022 to introduce wastewater changes, because they may come more quickly. But that's when we would propose to introduce paying off the principal. So we could bond anticipation. We could come back and probably start some kind of wastewater improvements as early as 2017, if the plans are produced and the need arises. Is that clear? Now I need a very quick just show of hands. How many like the table, the previous thing, and how many like the graph?
Couldn't read the table.
Can't read it, okay.
You turn down the light, you might be able to.
I'd love that. I can't see anyways. Can we turn off that light? Go back to the table. Is that better? I like that. That's much better.
What's the title of the last column up there? It's too small.
Oh, total planned debt service.
What?
Total planned debt service. Let's vote now that you can see this. How many like this? How many like the graph? Do the colors help? Good. Okay, let's go to the next one. No, that's not the vote. That's not the vote. Now, if you didn't like the table, you're not going to like this at all. But this is where we can talk about what it's going to cost you. This is.
Why we can't read it?
I will explain. That's a good question, and I have the same problem. I couldn't read it, and I was typing it. But what it does is it shows, and you can view this, it'll be on the website tomorrow, I promise. It'll be on the web. That's true. But we're going to talk about it enough so you understand it.
Website only works when you give it the address.
oakbluffmass.gov.
Thank you.
In 2016, I'm just going to read the top line, and then we can talk about other numbers, because I think I have a better picture. In 2016, the interest for the fire station is $35,000. That's in the first column of red. That $35,000 adds 1 cent to the tax rate. That's 1 cent per thousand. Okay? So for a $500,000 home, which some of you might own, that adds $6.94 to your tax bill for the year, the whole year. Okay? Does that make sense? And that's how that table is laid out. At worst, and this is just for that fire station, the worst it ever gets for that fire station is it will cost you $158.90 for a $500,000 home, and that's the very first year we pay principal and interest for it. Over the course of the 18 years that we pay this off, it will cost that $500,000 home $2,000 in taxes, $2,044.06. Manny.
How long from start to finish for both of them, time-wise? Year, 2
Money or building?
Time. How long to build them?
To build. The present plan is, if the money is approved tonight, that we will go out to bid and hire and start construction in November, is that correct? Oh, start construction in September. The buildings will be open in April of 16? 14 months from time that construction starts until they're open is 14 months. The data that I have, and it was most recently on the website, says that April of 2016, 2 years from tonight, we will have had our tour through the fire station and town hall. Is that good? You guys can live with that commitment? Good. I'll try to get you the money. Does that make sense? Yes.
Brenda Canna, Shacket 22. How much is it going to cost for the trailers for these people to be in that place over there?
These,
How much a month for those trailers?
these dollars that we're bidding,
It's going to be in that for the trailers?
that's the total project cost
For everything?
for everything. And in fact, here's the good news, and I didn't learn this till yesterday afternoon. The money that you authorized in November
Yeah,
is included in these project costs.
in all this.
Right.
Because the interest goes up and down. It fluctuates.
The what part?
Yeah, will it be locked in? This will be all locked in?
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
Yes. And Manny,
I hope there's going to be a project manager on site for both of these to make sure there are no problems like Bing and Haven had.
Like Vinnie Haven.
let me introduce him to you.
Good.
Joe, would you stand up, please? This is Joe Sullivan. He's the owner's project manager. He most recently did the West Tisbury Police Station. Very nice job. I want you to know that Joe and K&K Architects, one, have worked together before, and two, have a reputation that they're going to try to maintain, that we're going to help them maintain, of coming in under budget.
That would be nice.
And on time, I might add, which is also nice.
And the question you asked, whether we would have representation on site for the duration of the construction, there'll be an on-site representation on both projects full-time.
Can I have a quick vote, please, that we give me permission to have the outsiders talk to non-voters? Can I have all in favor? All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Thank you.
Ted?
Hi, Bill. My question is, will these figures include the temporary relocation of personnel? Because I didn't hear what question.
Yes. These figures are project costs. That means take it down, build temporary quarters, move people, move them back after it's built. Includes it all. Okay, does that make sense? So let me continue. The green columns, that's town hall. The worst town hall ever cost you is the first year, $130.91. That's the first year we start to pay back principal. Okay? And at the moment, these numbers represent the timing that we have chosen to go forward with if you approve both articles. Both buildings will be built at the same time. Both buildings will open in April of 2016, but we will pay for them in this staggered way. All of Town Hall, for a $500,000 house, costs $1,696.54.
Over how long?
That's over 18 years. Okay? Altogether, that's the total for that $500,000 house. Just one building.
Combined, that's
Combined, we're going to add them up. You ready? Next slide. Hope this works. 3740 and 60 cents. Okay? Now, these are for 50-year buildings. We're building there. And that's a pretty nice price for 50 years. Some of us won't be here at the end of those 50 years. In fact, I'm counting on not being here at the end of those 50 years. In this chart, this is both buildings together by fiscal year. The dollars are combined interest and principal payments. And that's for a $500,000 house. What's that? I'll show you. Just a second, Manny. If you look over at the third column up at the top, that says Delta from fiscal 13 debt. That $3,200,000 that we started with. What these two buildings cost compared to that tax load that you were paying in 2013 for debt, interest in debt in that long term, you save $127 in 2016. It costs you $15 over that amount the next year, $65 in 2019, and $18 in 2020. And then you've caught up with the debt. It's decreased enough so that we're paying less than we were in 2013. The debt's gone down since. So if we're talking about 2015, that's the fourth column, it looks a little worse. But even so, those numbers, they only last 6 years. The first year we save money. Then it's 96, 80, 146, 99, and 81. And then we're back to paying less than we were before. Pretty good deal for two really needed and really well designed and will be really well constructed buildings that are going to serve the town for 50 years. The total cost over 18 years is there. That's again for a $500,000 house. Charlie, you got a question?
I do, Bill. In simpler, rounder numbers, because I like it that way better. My original $500,000 house with the 2.5 override, my taxes went up $168 or something like that. 120, something
Okay.
like that, right? Now they're going to go up another 100, 164 over that same course of time. So I'm going to be paying about this kind of money, nothing more.
No, I think, and I'm only talking for this year because that's what we're talking at the moment.
Well, this year being 2016, 2017, or
2015.
2015. We
If you approve the override, and I'm not certain that the numbers are still in my mind, but I think it adds $69 to your tax bill.
for every year that this is up there.
That's for this 2015.
Just for 2015.
Right. That's what the override adds.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Manny?
My only question was, I see how you're reducing the fire department, but then, well, my question really is, why didn't you add both of them at the same time? Why is there a stagger between the town hall coming on and the fire department coming on? Is there some specific reason for that?
The buildings will come online at the same time.
Right.
What we're staggering is the debt. And the reason we do that is we don't want to hit you on both sides of the head with a sledgehammer at the same time. Okay? So what we're trying to do is ease that debt so that it fits that long-term debt ceiling that we're trying to fit into. Other questions? Yes.
Yeah, hi, Bill. Christine Todd.
Hi, Christine.
How are you?
Good.
You keep referencing the $500,000 property value. I saw it, so it varies so much from home to home, but I experienced an 18% increase in my assessment this year. And so I'm looking at that $500,000 and applying, excuse me, all the figures that you are stating now, but what's going to happen with our assessments? If our property values keep going up the way they are, at least for me, then the dollar amount that I'm contributing every year for this is going up accordingly. So where's the stability in that number?
I'm not an assessor, but I have one here.
Hi, I'm Dave Bailey. I'm the director of the assessing department. In Massachusetts, there's an inherent instability to assessments because they are supposed to be 100% of market value every single year. So people, no matter what happens with these votes, as has always been in the past, if your property goes up in value faster than the rest of the town, then your taxes will go up at a different rate than the rest of the town. If your taxes go down, then if your assessment goes down, then your taxes will go down. That's just part of the way the system works in Massachusetts. So there are no guarantees. There never have been.
No, these numbers are necessarily true, I promise.
These numbers are true. I mean, these numbers are what will happen with a house.
With a $500,000 house.
It's the best you can do. You can't predict the real estate market. Right. We'd all be millionaires if we could.
John.
Brian Hughes.
Oh, Brian, sorry.
By staggering the town hall off 3 years, how much does that add to the cost? Obviously, you must be paying interest, and then you start to begin to pay down the principal.
It's $90,000 by staggering it.
Okay.
Bill?
Yes. Hi, Bob.
Yeah. Can you flip back to the chart showing the fire station?
The sketch?
Yeah, the drawing of the
Sure.
proposed fire station. Yeah, thank you.
That was no hands, I might add.
Beg pardon?
That was no hands.
You're right. Amazing. Right now, the way our present fire station sits on the lot, it's kind of like this. Right? See what I'm...
Yes. This one is turned about 90 degrees.
It's turned 90 degrees, so it'll now be like this. Perpendicular to the current building.
That's correct.
The concern that I have, something that's brought to my attention, is that property is subject to some pretty stiff winds. And one of the questions raised is, what would happen to that building with the new orientation in the case of a hurricane? And the question was raised to the fire chief. Unfortunately, it was not raised to the architect, but the fire chief said, oh, we're going to have hurricane-resistant doors. And the next question was, what happens if you get a call during a hurricane and you open the doors? It does not sound like a very good scenario. I wonder if the architects...
Bob, I can answer it because we did talk about it, and Peter brought it up.
Yeah.
And the architects did consider it. We are getting heavy-duty doors. They've added structure inside the building, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, but what happens to the people and the equipment inside if you're trying to mobilize for a fire and you open the doors with hurricane winds?
If you talk with your hands, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I
So
can.
what happens if you open the doors during a hurricane? The doors will be fine, but now you're trying to mobilize your people and your equipment when you have a hurricane raging with doors open.
I understand, Bob, and here's my response. Once they leave the building, they're going to be out in the wind anyways.
It's kind of scary.
Sam?
Hi, Sam Lowe, 15 Farm Pond Road. Hi, Bill. Thanks for all the hard work. The same question I'm going to ask that I've been asking all along. The Finance Committee is what so many of us rely on to be the watchdog because we can't monitor everything, and they're taking the pulse every week. And you've got 5 yes and 4 no on a huge expenditure of money. So I do think we ought to get a fairly complete reaction from the Finance Committee on this one, please.
I will entertain that, but let me make some comments, and I'm not picking on anybody. There are people in town, some serve on the Finance Committee, who would say no to any expense. And that's their right, and I appreciate that they can speak up. But I believe in this particular case that we've had 12 people, including reps from the Finance Committee, the fire station, town hall, the architects, town administration, 2 selectmen, working for several years, who have put together a very good package that is moving relatively quickly. And my own personal opinion, of which I've been known to have a few, is that when the Finance Committee voted on this, they were not fully briefed. And now I will yield the floor to my good friend Steve Auerbach on the Finance Committee. You want to come up here?
Sam, I'm glad you have such faith in the Finance Committee. Most of the objections from my committee have been answered. Like Bill said, there are members who would like to only build projects when we have the cash on hand. I'm going to mention several of the other objections that I think were part of the negative votes. Some people thought we shouldn't have to vote before the plans were completely finalized, which of course is quite impossible since it's a long process of making preliminary plans and then refining the plans as input is given by the people who work in these buildings. And the architects receive money in order to make the details of the plans more and more complete. There was another objection relating to whether we could do both buildings at the same time. And I believe, as I was also a member of the building committee, those questions have been sufficiently answered to my mind by Joe and by K&K. It's going to be 2 entirely different outfits doing the construction. One will be a company that specializes in fire-type buildings, and the other one will be a company that specializes in municipal-type buildings. But they will, as Joe Sullivan, our OPM, mentioned, there'll be a full-time project manager at each site. So I believe that very well answers the question of whether the buildings can be done at the same time. There was some doubts raised on my committee as to whether there was sufficient community input. Well, at 2 successive special town meetings, we voted as a town to fund the preliminary designs for the buildings. So it's not as if these projects were completely unknown quantities and then all of a sudden, you know, we're building. And not to mention, there have been 3, I believe, public hearings since January for people to see and learn about the projects. And finally, another objection from the Finance Committee was whether we could afford both projects. I believe Bill has answered that question, as Bob Rittenauer has before, to the Finance Committee, that we're managing our debt so that our town debt levels remain fairly stable, very stable, in fact, over a period of years, while at the same time our infrastructure is becoming modernized and much better suited to current life in Oak Bluffs. I hope that answers your question, Sam.
So would you say then that the Finance Committee would not have that same vote, that they've come around so it wouldn't be 5 to 4, it would be all in favor, or, you know, this is all we have to go on. Thanks for...
It will not, it would never be all in favor.
Well, it has been on some of these.
On,
You see 9 to 0.
on some, yes, but there's, the Finance Committee is made up of 9 very independent thinkers, and though I try to steer them in the directions I think are proper, we don't always agree on things. I think the vote would probably be more in favor today than it was when we actually made that vote, but I can't say that with absolute certainty.
Okay, so we have 5 to 4 to go on that. That's what we have.
Yes, we do.
Abe Seaman, 28 Pennacook. I am on the Finance Committee. I did go to all the presentations, and a lot of work was done on these projects, for which I thank everybody who supplied the information. The Finance Committee members, some of whom think that there are a couple of bases on which these decisions are being made. One is that the number of households in Oak Bluffs will remain the same over the next 35 years, which I'm not too sure about. Second is that the whole issue of the school can go either way anytime. It can go up, it can go down. There are a lot of uncertainties. As a member of the FinCom committee, I felt that my sense was to do one project at a time, not to bond us for 30 to 35 years on a humongous amount of money, in my sense. And that's why I, as a FinCom member, voted against it. That's the 4 votes that didn't approve it. And the reason is not because we don't want to spend money. I think all of us on the committee try to balance the goods and the bads, the needs and what we have to, the resources that we have to satisfy those needs. And that's the feeling of myself as one of the voters.
Thank you. Let me add a couple things, and I'm trying to finish this up. The debt is for 18 years. That's for both buildings, not 35. And I'm going to show you a slide in a few minutes that shows you the impact of delay. Carrie.
I can't stand this math mistake. It's a very small math mistake, but it will give me a chance to say that...
Is it on this slide?
It's on the One before it,
That's why we're not showing that one.
after it? After it?
Say when.
Keep going. When?
When.
Back.
Okay.
694 plus 595. Top line.
Oh, top line, okay.
1289, not 1288. Very small thing, but still it was bugging the heck out of me.
Those calculators, I got to tell you, where's a math teacher when you need
I know,
one?
and it could be a simple typo, but I just wanted you to know that's why I wanted the audit.
I
You
know where it came from.
I thought you might, Bill.
I'm
And
responsible for that error.
And here's, I want to just say one other thing, which is that I don't appreciate the comment that was made about the 4 dissenting votes on the Finance Committee, because you know what? Every one of those people was equally elected. Every bit as much as Steve Auerbach was elected, Abe Seaman was elected. And I appreciate the fact that there can be differences of opinion, and I don't think we should diss each other for our differences of opinion. So thank you.
Thank you, Kerry.
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
If you were just to pick one, let me just pick the first column. Let's say you delayed that column for 2 years, either project, the fire or the thing. If you delayed one of them for 2 years, wouldn't that save you all those risks and things of everything happening at once? Because you'd have one in a different phase and one in a different phase, and you would have to save that just to put off one of the projects for 2 years would save you all those problems.
No, it doesn't, Charlie,
Okay.
and thank you for asking, and I'll try to show you and explain it. Keep going. Okay. This is what happens if we delay. Now, again, the world is unknown. Nobody knows everything, and I'm clearly in that category of not knowing much. But interest rates right now, as everybody knows, particularly if you have a savings account or a CD, are pretty low. Eventually, they're going to go up. Okay? If they go up 0.25%, which isn't very much, the fire station interest will go up by $150,000, and the town hall's interest will go up by $136,000. No, that's total. That's total. Not a lot of money, maybe, in the scheme of things, but it sounds like a lot, and that's for 0.25%. If we delay, I personally expect that interest rates will go up more than 0.25%. If the project costs increase 2.5% per year, and I've heard numbers as high as 6.5% per year. Just give me a chance, please. If they go up by 2.5% a year, which isn't very much, the fire station will go from $8.3 million to $8.9 million. That's 2 years. And the town hall will go up to $7.2 million. So we add significantly to the cost of the projects by delaying. In addition, we don't have the buildings. Does that answer your question, Charlie?
It really doesn't, Bill. I mean, I know that we all owe $16 trillion that our kids have to pay off, so I guess that's a factor too. To me, you got two buildings here. They're both going along the same parallel path. If one of them was 2 years behind the other year, you'd have some cushion in that whole process. I don't know which one, but if either one of them was behind 2 years, if the rates went up, you wouldn't have as much impact on both. If the rates went down, you'd have an impact only on one, not the other one. You'd have some cushion in there. Doing both of them at the same time is like doing one 9, 16 million, 18 million project all at once. In this case, you got two small projects. If one of them starts 1 year and the other one starts 2 years or 3 years later, you've got a cushion built into that debt financing.
Okay, I think I understand, and I think, at least in my mind, that's what the bond anticipation note allows us to do. It allows us to delay the payment. We build the buildings together, but we delay the payment of one of the buildings, in this case, in the example that I've used, Town Hall, for 2 years, so that it cushions it a little bit. But we still have the buildings at the same time. Yes, Gail.
I have a couple of questions. This doesn't contemplate future capital projects which we desperately need. That's correct, right? So this is just covering these two projects, and we foresee in the next 15 or 20 years there are going to be other ones coming down the road.
Like wastewater. In this graph, the purple is wastewater. Now, the graph that was provided to me, I got to tell you, it was a very ugly brown, and I couldn't stand it. But what this does is it shows in 2022, I believe, we have the capacity in our long-term debt to borrow about $10 million. And this purple piece of the graph shows the payoff of that principal and interest for the next 15 years. It doesn't have to be wastewater, and hopefully, Gail, to answer your question before you ask it.
Well, hopefully it will be wastewater.
Oh, hopefully.
And it might be more than that.
It might be more than wastewater.
It might be more than that, but that's not.
But the debt, the space for the debt happens in 2022, but we could, in fact, take on that debt earlier using bond anticipation notes by maybe 3 years, so that in 2017, which is as quick, I believe, as wastewater will be ready with some major plans. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So we'll be ready in 2017 to add that purple line. And what color would you like it to be then?
That's my issue, and it's a twofold question, is that this is a very tight puzzle, and the concern that Charlie's expressing, the concern that I'm hearing is taking on two massive projects at one time, regardless of the anticipation note, which would delay it. But you've got a very tight puzzle. So, for instance, if wastewater is the next capital project, it may need more than what you've put into your puzzle. And is taking on such, two large projects at once going to delay or even prevent other necessary projects that inevitably we're going to need as a town, including our waterfront infrastructure, in the next 5 or 10 years? How tight is this puzzle?
Well, I think I can't quite read the years. It's like, yeah, I know that. Part of it was intent, part of it was not. I think the third year after that $10 million debt for wastewater, that purple starts, that's 2025. We've already increased our capacity for more debt. So that 10 million comes in, for example, 2017, and then 3 years later we need another 5 million. We can cover that, still keeping that relatively level $3.2 million debt service that the town has carried, and in fact had carried until 2013, fiscal 13. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Bill. Matt Malowski. Did I hear that maybe somewhere down the road that we're also going to be thinking about a new police station as well? Which I'm not, I don't want to argue now. I'm just wondering that if that is 5 years, 6 years, 7 years down the road, many municipalities have that all in one building. They would have a town hall, a police department, and a fire department all in one building.
That's true, but we don't have the space, the land, the capability. We have, in fact, looked at that, and in fact, I think it was 10 years ago, there was a campus plan. I'm not sure the dates of that, but that Parish Center that we don't own anymore is a big trophy in the middle of that campus. So yes, we have talked about it. We're not going to talk about it tonight. Any other questions? Manny,
What's the interest rate we're proposing to get this at, if we get it?
these tables are predicted at 3%, which is a little bit higher than we're actually paying at the moment. Karen.
I'm Karen Achille. I live on Eastville Avenue, and many of you know that I was chairman of the Oak Bluffs Library Building Committee. There is no one in this room that would not say that by bringing the library into the 21st century, that it has not enhanced life in our town. To that extent, thank you. For that reason, I want you to know that I personally endorse bringing both the fire station and the town hall up to speed, so to speak, and I really truly believe that we would, had we waited to build the library for 2 more years, the cost of steel, the cost of construction, everything would have cost us an additional $3 or $4 million. I don't think we can wait. I think the plan, the financial plan, is sound, and I endorse it, and I encourage people to vote yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
One more question, go ahead.
Is the requirement to vote on a debt exclusion article limited to doing it at an annual meeting, or can it be done at any town meeting?
Excuse me? I'm sorry, one more time.
Is there a rule about voting on debt exclusion articles that they must be done at an annual town meeting? Or,
You can do it either one. You can do it either one.
you can do it at a special or annual?
Right,
Doesn't-
correct.
Okay. I'm one of the people that, on the Finance Committee that Steve referred to, and if you want to know why I voted no, I'd be happy to do it, but there's no point in doing it. Not here, not now, not now. No, I don't want to take up the time to do it. I really, it's not appropriate for me to do it tonight. But one of the reasons that I did it, maybe the primary reason, we got 1 year under our belt that we're in good financial shape. I'm more than a little nervous about going out without knowing if there was a second year and a third year down there. That's the biggest issue, I think, that colored my vote on it.
Okay. Any more discussion? All right, so since we haven't done it, can you move Article 15, please? Second? All those in favor, it takes a 2/3 vote, so if I can do it by what I can see, if not, we'll have to count it. All those in favor, raise your cards. Aye. All those opposed? All right, we have more than a 2/3 vote. Thank you. Article 15 passes. Article 16, have a move and second, please. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? We have more than 2/3. Thank you very much. Article 17. Article 17 is see if the town will vote to transfer from West...
Jack, real quick, I just want to commend Bill McGrath. Great job, Bill.
Yes, you did. Good job, Bill. Thank you. We'll see if the